And we are going forward to answer more questions. Why it is important to understand the current state of the enterprise maturity level in ESG and the future goal? Which drivers could be targeted towards long-term value creation? How the journey towards sustainability could look like? Is it an end state or rather a continuum? To hear the answers, I would like to invite Auksė Žukauskienė, a partner at Ernst & Young Baltic, and the presentation called The Long-Term Value Creation Through Enterprise ESG Journey and Practical Applications. Auksė is a rounded senior HR professional with more than 20 years corporate experience in Philip Morris International, Barclays, and SBA Group, both in Lithuania and internationally. So good to have you with us, and the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. Hello, everyone. First of all, fantastic congratulations to all of you, because I think this community is the one that is most sustainable through the years that I've been part of, and it's my great honor to be back and to be able to share with you the new journey I'm embarking, because myself, as I was just introduced, the only place where I have PMI abbreviation is not because of the project management, but more because of the Philip Morris International. Having said that, project management and sustainability are really going side by side and is really very important element of the future that we're in. I mean, when we started hearing the word sustainability, or ESG, which stands for Environment, Social and Government Responsible Business, it was really mainly driven, and we have to admit it was really driven by the regulation. Now, some of you may know that today in Europe, there are more than 4,000 different regulatory requirements, taxes, laws, and you name it, that define it, but still not everybody is part of that journey. So through today's presentation, I really would like to explore with you on what are the practical situations and what each one of us, through our journey, through our employment, through our projects, can contribute to this. Now, let me first learn how to do it. So, when we think about the world around us today, I mean, it's no secret that vulnerability is pressing us from all possible sides. I mean, energy costs are rising. We already had this question to the presenter. The interesting thing is that this year, the energy costs will reach 1980 whole global GDP cost. Can you imagine that? We're going to spend all of the money that was created or generated in 1980, and most probably it's not the limit. The second thing is the geopolitical situation. And actually, when we just did the conference last year and we talked, I had the pleasure to facilitate the panel. We talked about the climate change, about the global initiatives related to that, and then the war outbroke. And for some time, very briefly, everybody was kind of turned away their focus from the climate, from sustainability, into the war, for very good reasons. But the thing is that geopolitical situation actually puts even more pressure and requirement for us to think about that. And then, of course, we still have the future of our Earth in big question, and that will require further work on this initiative. Now, this slide is my favorite one, because very often I ask myself a question, so is it just a nice thing to do? Is it a responsible thing to do? Or is it really a major evolution or major revolution that is ongoing in the world? And if we think about it, the world has gone through what we call 5 industrial revolutions until now, or 4. And it started about 200 years ago with mechanization, and then we talked about automation, industrialization, etc. And all of that was to create more productivity and to ensure that we create more wealth, and that meant more spending, more usability of resources. Today we are at the phase of so-called sustainabilization, right? We can use this newly created word, and this stage that we are in puts us in the position that we need to think, how do we use, how do we consume, how do we produce, how do we create, with the purpose of creating wealth and possibilities for future generations in a way that will not be detrimental to the future. Important element to think about is the fact that if you see at the bottom of the chart, you see that the change or the pace of these so-called revolutions is accelerating. There was 150 years between the mechanization and industrialization, and now we only have 15 years since the digitization start, which means that we need to be all eyes and ears into what's happening around us, and there is no option to just catch up. We need to be at the forefront of this development and going forwards. Now, to answer that question of why, I think it's very important to look when the corporate social responsibility and the ESG discussion started, what we call the old world, we said, okay, you create wealth, you create value, and because you are successful, you can now share with the community, with the environment, etc. Today, thinking about business and being part of global business communities, we strongly believe that it's not a choice, but it's really the core of existence of every business. We are successful because we are responsible, because we care, and because we contribute and participate in the ESG journey. And I think if we change that mindset in the way we work, in the way we collaborate with our senior executives, global companies, and local startups, everything will change. We can no longer, as somebody said, one of the CEOs said, and sorry I forgot the name, I'm bad with quotations, but somebody said, if I don't go green, I will only go red. And I think that's this essence of the slide which I wanted to share with you guys. Now, maturity of sustainability journey, like in everything in this world, it's always good to start with measurement. And we talked about big data, we talked about different assessment criteria. But when we talk about maturity in delivering responsible and sustainable business results, typically can be assessed by multiple questionnaires, big information spreadsheets, etc. But now let's look at it from the kind of qualitative way. And I haven't done a big research, but I wanted to share with you some examples and some internal thoughts that I have on this matter. And again, all the materials and all the references I'm making are based on the publicly available resources. So it's not something that kind of just EY has delivered, but we really wanted to look holistically at it and to see what it means for the future. So when we think defensive, and that's the absolute non-existent responsibility level for me, it's the type of business that not just complies to the regulation, but actually ignores and hides it. Now, why it's not good to be in that state, some of you Lithuanian participants who are here might remember that a couple of years ago, one of our paper producers have been fined and have been identified to have leaking some damaging materials into our Curonian lagoon. And why did it happen, the question is. The answer is, for me, the answer is simple. It's because this organization, actually the interesting thing I forgot to mention, just 2 months before this situation, before the announcement or the leak in the newspaper about this stage, this organization have published a sustainability report. So for me, the answer is simple. It's not about writing a policy. It's not about putting it in the drawer. It's actually about creating the culture and mindset in the organization to actually ensure. The CEO of the company was newly appointed, and he actually said, I wasn't aware. And I choose to believe him or her, But from organizational points of view, there is no way that leaders would know every detail and in every step. But sustainability and ESG approach is all about the mindset of every employee and every contributor in this journey. Whether you start with suppliers, with partners, with government regulators, everybody needs to be part of this journey. And that's why defensive most probably is not an option to go. When we speak about maturing, for me, this concept of a phoenix comes to mind. We had a lot of heavy machinery, industrial companies, coal mining, steel producers, tractors, ships, whatever. All of them are there for a purpose. And to continue their journey and be value creating in this world, they need to change. So they need to mature and transform their businesses. And first of all, what supply chains they introduce, what choices they make in terms of production facilities, how they integrate different solutions in terms of automation, you name it. And they not only comply to the regulation, but they start taking further steps into the development. That's a great example. Banking sector is doing the same, and I will have plenty more examples later on. And then if we reach out to the kind of uppermost level, not many organizations can afford, are ready, or have the mindset and culture to do it, but there are some. And what comes to mind for me is the Unilever. If you Google them, you will see that they are, for the 10th consecutive year, they are in the top of the list of the sustainability leaders in the world across all the components based on the formal assessment. So that's not Auksė assessing them, that's an officially formal one. And the reason to do that is because the only way for them, as I read the reports, the only way for them to continue journey and be part of this of their communities is to make sure that their chemical products are made sustainable and healthy for Earth, but also healthy for individuals. Now, if your company decides to go through this assessment, there will be many, many components to it, but I think the core message of this journey is to understand what are you ready for, what is your management committed for, and the recent study of EY, the global level, have confirmed that 43% of the board members and chairmen of the board have confirmed that they themselves do not feel that they have the sufficient knowledge and information about it. So sometimes maybe choosing smaller steps can lead us forward faster than just jumping to the top and potentially failing this journey. Now, this chart is very busy, and Edita challenged me a lot on this, but I decided to keep it in case you will have a look at it backwards after this conference, because it gives a lot of material for you to think about when you go back. I mean, sometimes we tend to oversimplify things, and if I had to tell about the slide in 2 words, it would be very simple. Financial value is the base on which you build your long-term value creations through ESG. People and social is how you do it, and the customer value is the outcome, is what you bring to the environment and to the society. And now let's not stop here any longer, but let's look at each of these components on how can we and how organizations actually contribute and deliver their value creation through each of those 4 elements. So the first one is the customer value, and for your information, I wanted to put forward 3 very different product and innovation elements that companies have chosen to pursue. Some of you may have seen the innovation of transparent solar panels that hopefully in the future will replace windows and will generate power while also providing us access to the world. One of the Lithuanian manufacturing producers and the great company founded by Lithuanian guys is pushing forward the initiative of engineered timber to be used for production of so-called modular wooden houses that are quite popular in Scandinavia, but this company is pursuing to build the whole city around Akmenė of this very ecological, very innovative product, and to provide local residents of that area very healthy, very sustainable, but also very responsible way of living. And then I already mentioned the coal mining, the steel industry. Agriculture is actually also very often put at the top of the industries that say that they are more polluting and creating a lot of CO2 into the environment. So Lithuanian company Auga actually introduced and presented a very new biomethane tractor, which is fully kind of clear of CO2 and is really the future of this heavy machinery for our agricultural solutions. If we walk to the people side, and naturally that's where my passion lies, and I believe that foundation of any organizational change is the mindset and of each individual, but as well as the culture of the company. The 4 examples that I wanted to bring to you is based on the kind of directions that organizations are taking. We cannot achieve any change if we don't engage employees. And for example, the BBVA Bank was the first one in the world to make sure that all of their employees, and I'm not a fan of word mandatory, but they made sure that all of their employees, which is 125,000, have been trained on ESG and sustainability so they can coach and support their clients in this journey. When we think about skills and competencies, that's another fact that is kind of striking me. In the past, typically, we had our skills valid for 30 years. So maybe my grandma or my grandfather had the skills, or even my parents, that lasted throughout the lifetime of the career. Today, we are at the phase where skills, competencies, and capabilities only last for 3 to 5 years, and we have to be versatile and be able to change ourselves and to transform and be. And I saw a very nice chart of the flexibility of project manager. I think that really refers to it. Now, in the UK, when we looked at when me and my colleagues, we looked at the global so-called Nord Stream transformation deal, we have identified that there will be a major change to all of the energy, oil and gas sector with the transformation of 300,000 jobs and additional 200,000 being created in the next 10 years simply because we move from the classical oil and gas into the renewable. Think of that impact on the societies, on the communities. Another interesting one is the sustainable working life, and I was struck by the Swedish government who are implementing a countrywide government program for sustainable well-being working in the environment. And it's believed, I mean, it's natural that we are aging societies, especially more in the Western world, and to enable people to live and to work and to contribute with the quality input, they actually put forward a very interesting and very responsible program. And of course, I will not stop much here, but we cannot get away without talking about mobility and hybrid work and what it does to the labor market and how it affects, because we all want to be responsible. We want to create opportunities for people, but we need to be flexible, engaging, and supporting. Social value. The social value is no longer about only charities and giving back and just kind of dropping a penny for somebody who is in need. The social value of companies pursuing ESG journey varies to the largest extent. And on this one, I will start backwards, so I keep your attention a little bit from the lunch. Some of you may be consumers of Remy. And you would know that this company has implemented a number of programs, from the non-packaged products, which you can put into your own packaging that you bring, from employing people with disabilities to actually contribute to the society, and many, many other aspects that are very interesting and engagement. And through them, we become part of the social journey in the company. So I really subscribe to it. The technology company Cora, actually, that's a Latvian company, and they created an app that enables companies and also citizens to sign up and measure their negative impact on the environment, but also the positive one. Because we cannot stop consuming, we cannot stop using all the stuff that is created, but the question is what we use, how we consume it, and how we contribute back. So by biking to office, by climbing the stairs, by doing other very responsible things, you collect the points through Cora, and you see how much of your negativity you outweighed it, and the company can actually, by becoming the member of this app, can actually pay back and assess the value created to the environment. Some of you know Vinted, and I'm very proud that Vinted originates from Lithuania, and it's a second-hand or sustainable fashion company for reselling the clothes. And it has taken it's our unicorn, and it has taken a global reach, which is an amazing journey we're undertaking. And by doing that, they actually activated not just a few people, but millions of users to be part of this journey. And now last, but definitely the most interesting and striking one, and the reason I left it for last is because it's not always that you have to climb the highest mountain, but we can choose on where we start, and ultimately the journey will lead us. When I was preparing for this presentation, Patagonia was recommended by a colleague who said this is a very interesting company producing sustainable clothing, and they're also, like Unilever, at the top list of the globally rated sustainability leaders. Now, what happened, I think last week or a couple of weeks ago, was that Patagonia's founder has established a fund and transferred more than 3 billion worth of company worth into the fund, because he believes that the only stakeholder and the only recipient of the goods of their creation of the business is the planet Earth. And the purpose of that fund is just to do that. So big or small, you see that we all can do, either we can pedal on the bike or we contribute through buying Patagonia clothes. All of that, doing any of that will contribute to the journey. Now, financial value, and I said that this is the means. And I would not want to kind of undervalue it, because when we talk about value creation, I think, and I really like the idea behind EY purpose-led leadership and value creation, is simply because we cannot do something just give away, then we will stop existing. So the purpose is to find a value-creating and business-creating opportunities to do it in a responsible, sustainable way. And banks are typically the ones that are kind of blamed for the way they run business. But once I started looking deep into this, I mean, first of all, I'm very proud that Barclays, my previous employer, is the first bank who has implemented the so-called green loans for greenhouses and ecological living for their clients. Then we see various tracking tools being created, and more financial institutions promote, support, and financially contribute by lower interest rates, by better conditions, by putting you together with the providers to make sure that as a bank client you can actually deliver more by consuming less. And looking at the time, I would like to wrap up. And I think when we think about organizations creating value, and all of us exist because we are there to bring value to our consumers, to our shareholders, to the environments we operate, it's very simple 4 steps that I would like you to remember and think about with all the examples we have analyzed. First of all, it needs to start at the top, and it needs to start with a strategy. I mean, if your boards or your executives will not support the ESG journey, it will be very hard to pursue it through projects that we undertake. So the more we talk to them, the more we create the awareness around us, the better the outcome will be. Then the second thing is accelerate transition and make sure that it's ingrained in all the processes, all the policies, all the initiatives that we do. It's not enough to run a sustainability project or to appoint the chief sustainability officer in the organization. Nothing will happen. Like some of you know, we have experienced a similar trend when we started implementing ERPs and different technological solutions in our company. If we just install it and we don't get the organization on board, if we don't change management, if we don't change the culture, the system is there, the business is still done the old way. The same with sustainability, just even harder to explain and to really see the short-term versus the long-term benefits. Govern and operate, naturally, we need to make sure that it's non-stop process, that it becomes part of the process, and building trust. I mean, building trust and making sure that our communities, our regulators, our partners, our suppliers, and most definitely our ultimate recipients of the service or the client is part of that journey. And I think the ultimate storyline to this is that it's not a sprint, it's not a one-off project. I mean, when we say about the revolution of the sustainabilization, we need to be patient, we need to be persevering, we need to be very, very determined in the journey we undertake. And with that, I just want to close that the reason we know about it is because EY has just recently been nominated or selected as a #1 sustainability partner for many companies. And I'm really thrilled and proud and happy that I be part of this journey together with them. And I thank you for making that contribution and being part of this. You being here is planting a tree, so that's already a good start. Thank you very much.
Auksė, thank you so much for your presentation. I thought it's also a sustainable way of living when you hold people from going to lunch, right?
Absolutely.
Absolutely, because I know that we're going to have some questions here, and one of the prioritized questions is here. Edita wanted to ask you something.
Okay, sure.
Yeah. So we need the mic.
Hello, dear Auksė.
Hi.
So, first of all, thanks a lot for sharing your experience, new journey. As usual, we really value our long-lasting partnership and relationships. And I really loved your comment. You shared your colleagues' words, I guess. If I don't go green, I go red, right? So, I'd like to challenge on your personal steps. What are you doing towards sustainability? What are your green steps?
Well, I'm still, as I said, I'm still on the marathon, not on the final journey. So I can list you many things that I don't do and I want to do. What I already do is definitely all of the recycling, and that's a very important one. And for our guests from other countries, I can only proudly say that Lithuania is recycling or collecting 90% of all the bottles and cans that we use in drinking our beverages. So I'm definitely part of that. I'm not cycling or driving. I'm still using my car to drive to work, so that's something to look into. And I have to admit that for big reports, I'm still printing reports because I'm unable to review and to deep dive into this, but I'm really learning to put a kind of e-comments into my documentation. So I'm on the journey.
Thank you, Auksė.
Any other questions?
Many more questions, if we have. Yeah, one question is here.
Or lunch?
No.
Hello, it's Thomas Ploška from
Hi, Tom.
Košolis. Thank you for the great presentation, Auksė, with lots of practical examples. You mentioned that after integrating or building the strategy, sustainability strategy, there is one important step to integrate it in the organization. So getting people on board is very important in this sustainability journey. What are these key ingredients, for a successful integration of sustainability in the organization?
Okay, fantastic question actually, and definitely my favorite one. As I said, it starts with leadership. So if leadership is really demonstrating and supporting behaviors that we talk about, that will be the very first step for organization to start believing and pursuing this journey. The second thing I would say is that it needs to become part of every process that we implement, including training, including rewards, including performance management elements, the KPIs we set for our people. I mean, we cannot reward something that is not conducive to the bigger strategy or the bigger purpose that we set ourselves. The third thing is really to help people understand. I mean, very often it's just too far or it's just too vague to understand. And we need, as organizational leaders, we need to help our people to understand that even the small thing, even the smallest contribution and right behavior will help going forwards. And we need, for me, the biggest thing is the open feedback culture. I would really say that if you allow me to remind you when you are not living to the purpose and to the value, and you will do the same towards me, we will get there faster than actually just pretending that everything is fine. So openness, transparency, feedback, leadership support, and definitely process integration of all these elements would be key for me. And that's not specific to sustainability, it's specific to any major change organization is undergoing in their journey. Hope that answers your question.
It's like any kind of leadership, right? Because I have a stubborn colleague, he uses a lot of plastic bags. And I said, stop littering the nature. He said that nature cannot make, garbage itself. I said, stop using plastic. He said, no. I said, I have a shotgun at home. He said, okay. So finally, this is kind of leadership as well.
That's kind of leadership as well, right?
Absolutely. So thank you so much for your presentation. Thank you for your answers.
And bon appétit.